Chair, the meeting is now live.
Thank you, Carol. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Democratic Services Committee. A particular welcome to any new members and to members of the press and public listening in from at home. Do we have apologies for absence?
Yes, Chair, we've got apologies from Councillors Elwyn Vaughan, David Meredith. Councillor Sarah Williams also give us apologies because of work commitments.
Okay, thank you. Minutes of the previous meeting, have we all received copies of those, I take it? Yeah. Is there anything which anybody wishes to raise from there, or am I okay to sign those off? All seems clear there.
I think you're okay, Chair, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, any declarations of interest? None? Okay, it's been going on pretty well here. Item 4 is election of Vice Chair. I'm aware that we've had one nomination for Councillor Peter Lewington. Carol, don't know whether you received any more.
No, Chair, I've not received any more.
Councillor Lewington, you're happy to be nominated as Vice Chair?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do so. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think we can, by a show of hands,
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Lewington as the new Vice Chair. Congratulations, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all.
Which takes us on to item 5, which is Members Champions, Roles, Responsibilities, Support and Governance. I'll take it, Catherine, are you going to take us through this?
Yes, Chair, I will.
Over to you then.
Thank you very much. Sorry, my voice is going. So on page 7 then of your report pack, you'll see the paper that Councillor Graham's referring to. So at the council meeting on the 11th of January this year, it was agreed that member champion roles should continue, and agreed that Democratic Services Committee should consider those roles, responsibilities and the support and governance arrangements around those. So if you look, there's quite a substantial amount of papers here in the pack, and the committee is just asked to consider the content of these and any specific questions we may have. So really it looks at the roles, the role descriptions. So in Appendix 1 on page 15, we've got a lot of information there on what they should look like, as well as how to appoint. So we've got several options that we need to consider, as well as some other bits and pieces. So if we move forward then, so the following issues need to be considered. So it's around those roles. As I pointed out in Appendix 1, there is a lot of information for you to consider as a committee. We've also got the development of what member champion role we'd have. So there's some information detailed in the document, and questions such as who could propose that role, as well as what responsibilities they'll have, how they're appointed. So we've provided 2 options there in 2.1.4. So there's lots of things to consider, and also, you know, if the above is how we report that back to council, if that is the way that we're going to deal with it. So I'm assuming, Chair, you'd like to sort of take it step by step through the report, but as well then at the end of the year, reporting back on what work that member champion had actually done throughout the year. So a sort of draft annual report that we've provided in Appendix 2 for you to consider as well. And so at the moment we've got 3 member champions, as I'm sure you're all aware. We have an armed forces one, an anti-poverty and a disability one. So I suppose another question to consider is, are other member champion roles required? So and it also should be noted that when the member champions are appointed, details of those are on the council website with what, you know, what champion role they've got, and their contact details are included, and the annual reports that they would produce would also be added after they were presented to council at the end of the year. So it's just to consider the questions raised in section 2 of this report, and then report back and make those recommendations to full council. So I don't know if you want me to take it sort of step by step, Chair.
Yeah, first I just ask, has anybody got any questions they want to ask for Catherine at this stage? Otherwise, we'll ask Catherine to go through. Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, apologies, I can't find the hand on the screen, so apologies for the manual hand. Yeah, there's just a couple of quick questions, and maybe I couldn't find it, Catherine, so apologies if I missed it. I didn't see anything that talked about the term of the role, the members champion role, how long you were elected for, and then off the back of that, I didn't know if there would be like an annual reappointment type exercise. And then with the recommendations that you've alluded to there in 2.14, is when it comes, or if it comes to council, I didn't know if it would be approved by, say, a majority vote, or what would happen if it wasn't approved in the role. But apologies if I've missed those questions in the papers. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, no,
I think
thank you.
come back on that.
Yeah, and Clive, did you have any specific?
I can answer Councillor Pete's second point about majority. Everything in council is by majority vote, Councillor Pete. So unless DSE makes a recommendation to council, we change that arrangement, and it could be for DSE, they could do that. But apart from that, everything is by majority.
Okay.
Yeah. And in
Nothing
terms
about
of the
them
term, I don't think.
Oh, Chair, in terms of the term, again, we've sort of come to a protocol whereby it's for the term of council, but there's nothing in writing to that effect. And I think it would be really good if DSE were to make a strong recommendation to council of whether it should be an annual thing, because the more people, DSE may take the view that the more people that are member champions, there's a development issue there. But the alternative of that would be having continuity of a single member acting throughout the term of a council might be a good thing. So I think it swings and balances. I think it's for DSE to make a recommendation.
Okay, yeah, good point. Thank you, Clive, for that. That might be something, Catherine, that you wish to add to the report. Something we could discuss today.
Yep. Yes, certainly. Yeah, so going back through the report then, so obviously as I noted in the appendices, there is a lot of generic role description and person specific specification, can't even speak. So that's there for you to have a discussion around, but really it was a question of, as 2.1.3, does that section cover all of the responsibilities? Do you all agree? Is there anything missing? Feel free to add anything here. And the process really is a really important one again at 2.1.4, so that we've highlighted two options there that could be taken. So the first one being when a new member champion role has been established, the leader could approach councillors who would consider that. And also option 2 is when a new member champion role has been established, the information regarding that role would be circulated to all and expressions of interest would be sought. And then if more than one councillor expressed an interest, either the leader would consider those interested, or the leader, with the chair of council and relevant portfolio holders and chair of Democratic Services Committee, could consider those options.
Okay. Anybody want to come in at this stage then? Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was just wondering there, I think as you were saying, Catherine, like who makes the recommendations. I was wondering whether we should also extend that to the chairs of the scrutiny committees.
Claire?
Thank you, Chair. I think we need to do this chunk by chunk with respect to the last comment. I do think member champions are important, the roles are important, but who establishes those we need to agree first, rather than what they are and who applies for them. I think we just need to take this step by step so that we know what we're doing. I am a little bit concerned that at times it could become overly bureaucratic by involving too many cooks and that sort of thing. I think the one thing I wanted to say is that there appears to be a legacy of 3 current members champions, and I think we at some point we need to sort of say, well, what we're proposing here is a clean slate ready for the sort of a new term of office, so we're not sort of hamstrung by, well, we've always had these 3 particular members roles, so we just roll those forward. I do think it's important to note that the leader needs to be involved in that, because ultimately you don't want any overlap or confusion with cabinet roles and that sort of stuff. And from a members champions point of view, it needs to sit alongside sort of direction, the leadership of the council, but it's also slightly separate in that we're looking for these roles to be championed across council business. So I just think we just need to be careful before we get into the reads about who should we involve, who should we consult. I think we need to establish what MC roles Powys want to have going forward, and that should be our starting point, really, because I'm a little bit concerned that we've got 3 people, sort of a legacy system. Nobody's actually necessarily sat down and thought about where the gaps are or what we should have to make sure we cover the broad spectrum of people that need champion. I mean, I was having a look at other authorities and how they do it, and there's no one size fits all, but it did occur to me that rather than have multiple member champions for various different people, like disability, older people, what you could have like a member champion for all protected classes. You could tie it to the Equalities Act and do it that way. So, but ultimately I think the leader needs to sit down and work that out regards the portfolio holders and who does what. Sorry, Chair, I rambled on a bit there.
No, that's fine. Clive?
Chair, I entirely agree with Councillor Clare on this, but I'd like to go back one stage further than she suggested, and look at the model personal spec, which this is 2.1.1 in the report, is that a model which we think we should adopt? And if we do adopt it, we then need to decide exactly as Councillor Clare suggested, which champions which we're going to have, and once having decided which champions we're going to have, we then need to amend that model to reflect the role which each is going to take. So that's my suggestion, Chair.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Any thoughts, anybody else?
So the model that Clive refers to is on page 15, so that's Appendix 1.
There's a mountain of paperwork, isn't there?
And this is provided by the Welsh Local Government Association.
Okay. Have we all got that?
Sorry, Kath, don't you mean page 11?
Oh, sorry, I'm skipping ahead there.
I think the model is on page 11, Chair.
I seem to have different page numbers to everybody else by the look.
Yeah, I put it on page 7, what I'm looking at.
Oh gosh.
Right, this is the PDF.
Public reports pack.
I've got roles, responsibilities, support and governance.
That's it, yeah, and that's page 11 on mine.
I've got 7.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. 2.1.1, yeah?
I'm not finding that at all. I'm gonna have to...
Oh no, you're Councillor Danny, you're looking at the report and it refers to this Appendix 1, but Appendix 1 starts on page 11.
Oh, I've
page 7 was the first.
Hang on.
How does Appendix 1 start, Catherine? Does it say what are member champions?
Yeah, so the page
That's
before it is left intentionally blank. And then you've got member champions, roles, responsibility, support and governance as the title.
I've got it.
Yeah.
Chair, could I just come in there to confuse it even further? But Appendix 1 actually starts on page 15 of the pack. The constitution is the heading on it is Constitution, Section 23, member role descriptions, and that's where the Welsh local government associations model role descriptions is shown. Section K of the Constitution.
So this is Appendix 1 is what's currently in our Constitution.
Yes. Yes. So that's the Welsh local government's model, showing the accountabilities, role, purpose, and activities and values.
I've got that now. I've not read that bit before.
Chair, you've got Councillor Peter and Councillor Clare with hands up.
Oh, sorry. Who was first? Peter, go on, and Claire.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Claire. It was just really a sort of bit of an overarching comment. Was when we discussed this previously, I thought it was a little bit patchy, the information we had. I think this time the roles are very well defined for me. The papers set out very clearly what the roles are there to do, and sort of having had a read through them and looking through them, I don't now have too much of a problem with the roles operating as they are described. That seems to me now that they actually set out what personally I think a members champion should do. So I guess where I was coming to was I'm happy with the roles as they are described, and I think then it may be a bit more back to like Councillor Clare's point and Clive's point as well, is it's like the champions and then tweaking the roles to reflect those champions, as well as perhaps looking at the details then around 2.14 in this report about which options do we choose. But I thought the roles were very well defined now, very clear, and I was happy with them. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Peter. Claire?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask the officers really. So have we already as a council adopted the Welsh local government model in our constitution, or is that something we're being asked to consider here today?
But yes, it was taken from the constitution, wasn't it, Carol?
Great,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So where
Chair,
are we then?
Sorry, Chair, can I just indicate we had a message earlier on that Councillor Glyn Preston is having difficulty getting in, so I just mentioned that in the meeting. I've tried to call him in, Chair, but he's still not. He's not any. Oh, Glyn, you're here now, are you? No, he's still not in Chair. So I've just.
Okay.
He's having problems.
According to the chat, Chair, so is Councillor Little, who's been trying to get in as well.
Okay. Is it that maybe are they perhaps trying to get in via Zoom rather than Teams? Because will be changed.
No, it's always been on Teams, Chair.
Has it? No. Okay, then fine. Okay. So which one are we dealing with, Catherine? Now that.
Well, I think from what I can gather, Councillor Peace, Councillor Clare, you kind of agreed that you liked the look of the information provided in starting on page 15 as the sort of layout of the foundations of what is a member champion. So you felt that was, so I don't know if you wanted to agree as a group that is.
Yeah, well, if Peter wants to make that as a proposal, are we all happy to agree with him on that? Because we do need to make some progress on this, don't we?
Yeah, happy to propose that, Chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
We all okay with that? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we're okay with that one then, Catherine.
Thank you very much. So that was so the responsibilities. So I think one of the other things is around what roles.
And where are you on that one then? What page is that?
Just having a look now. So going back to the overall Archer report, page 7. So we've got the generic role description and person specification. So that's what we've just dealt with there. We've got the development of a member champion role. That's detailed. Is the document sufficient? So you've just suggested it is. Who can propose a member champion role? And how they're appointed as well in 2.1.4.
I'm at a bit of a loss here because I can't find these.
Back on page 7.
I can't find the corresponding page numbers that you were quoting.
Everybody else with me? Page 7, the very first page of the.
Kath, can I suggest you share the screen? So
Yeah,
everybody
could you
can
do
see
that?
Yes.
Oh, that'll help. Yeah.
Chair, I've asked Carol to send councillors and Glyn and Little a new link, so hopefully they'll be able to join shortly. But I thought just mention that.
Can you see this yet? I've just highlighted a few bits.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Is that okay? So yeah, this is the very first page.
That's much better. Yeah. Okay.
So yes. So we've obviously, you've agreed just now, haven't you, about the remit or the responsibilities. So it's more around who can propose the member champion role.
Chair, and at the end we probably need to go back and deal with Councillor Clare's issue, but at the end what roles we need. So are these 3 the ones we want, or do we need something different? So if we can deal with that at the end. But
yeah, okay, I'm just reading that now. Does anybody have any views on the way that people should be, the way that we choose? Claire?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I go back to what I said earlier. Really, I think this does need to come from the top to a certain extent, in terms of identifying what roles that are needed, because we don't want duplication, and we don't want to create bureaucracy where it can be avoided. I don't think so. If there's a cabinet system that's been set up to deal with different areas, then the members champions need to sort of complement that really, and not be sort of duplicating it.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. Anybody else want to come in on that?
Councillor Pete's got his hand up, Chair.
Pete, then Danny.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting slightly confused now. I fully understand and take most of Councillor Clare's points there. I think where I'm getting confused is this 2.14 is talking about appointing them, but we seem to be having a discussion now around who decides what the member champion roles are. Which I didn't sort of see that in the paper. That's just what's causing me some confusion, or unless that's meant to be rolled up into 2.14, the appointment also includes, if we want, I don't know, a members champion for XYZ. Is that proposed when we appoint that champion? Oh, no, I'm not seeing that. Apologies, I've just got slightly confused.
Chair, my suggestion about that was we deal with that at the end, because it's not in the paper. But if we can deal with the things on the paper to start with, and then we can come and deal with what champions we need at the end, if that's okay with the committee.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Clive. Yeah, I'm happy with that, Chair, if you are.
Yeah, fine. So you want us to discuss 2.14. Catherine, am I right?
Yeah, so we've got 2 options highlighted there. Hopefully you can all see this now. So yeah, option 1, when a new member champion role has been established, the leader would approach councillors who they consider would be interested in the role. And then option 2, when a new member champion role has been established, the information would be circulated to all councillors and expressions of interest would be sought. And then if more than one expressed an interest, there are the leader would either consider those or with others decide. So there are 2 options.
Okay, well, personally I would prefer option 2. I don't know what other people's views are. Danny?
Yeah, well, I'll go back to my original point. Well, my original question: how have the existing members champions been appointed in the past? The three that already exist?
By nomination by the leader.
Yeah.
Solely the leader, yeah.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm
that's
sure
fine.
in consultation. I mean, surely in consultation with others, Councillor Danny, but the leaders really essentially made the decision in the past.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if it's in consultation with the others, I'm the same as Councillor Graham. I did read this bit earlier, and the option 2 seems more favourable to me logically. So effectively, if the leader has had consultation, we're already working on option 2. Is that correct?
Almost, I think.
Almost, yeah.
Almost, yeah.
Not
So
quite.
yeah. No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I'm just trying to get it in my head. It might be a stupid question, but
No.
But yeah,
Fine.
I'm in. Yeah, more favourable to option 2 at this stage for myself.
Okay, Claire,
Thank you.
I think is next, then Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just think for me, the bit that's sort of missing from this report, which is what Clive said we'll do at the end, is who establishes the role. But once a role has been established, I do agree. I think it should be sought expressions of interest from all members to be given the opportunity to apply for that role, rather than the leader identify a single person to fill it. So they're two slightly different things, but I actually agree. Option 2 is the better of those presented. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, and I think alongside that, I would think we would need to go back to a blank sheet of paper where we're invited. The current ones are obviously have the option to put their names forward again, but I think to be fair, we would need to go back to a blank sheet. Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I won't regurgitate there. Yeah, I think for democracy, I'm with option 2 as well. I'd probably just drill down a little bit lower, and I would go for option 2B. And that was then, though, back to my point I raised earlier, is if we have like the chair of Democratic Services, I did wonder if we should also then extend it to the chair of the other 3 scrutiny committees, because I guess the members champion may be going along to those committees to do input to policy initiatives, scrutiny, whatever. So I would be going 2B with a suggestion we also extend it to the chairs of the other 3 scrutinies.
Claire.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Sorry, completely disagree. Actually, I would go for 2A. What we're talking about here is where more than one member has applied for a role. I think there's a danger of too many cooks at this point, bearing in mind that there's still a next step, that if we do get multiple applications, it'll be a panel of people that will be making the recommendation for who fills it. I don't think we should be having too many people in that sort of sifting process personally, so my preference is 2A. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we've got a bit of a disagreement on this one. I'm just trying to remember what the leader's views were. He did express views, didn't he, himself?
It's on page 8. It's on page 8, Chair. He supports 2A.
Let me scroll down to that, Catherine.
Here.
There we
I don't know
are.
if you can see my mouse there. Yeah.
Option 2A in respect. Yeah, I think there's a real danger of us overcomplicating this, if we're not careful. We'll have half the council involved if we start involving scrutiny chairs as well in this process. Peter, did you wish to come back in?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I do understand the point about bureaucracy to a degree, but I guess sorry about excessive bureaucracy, but I guess just when I was looking at it all, if you like, being in the hands of the leader, and it's the leader who will appoint or the leader who will recommend, then when it actually comes to full council, it's already been sifted, if you like, just solely by one person, the leader, and we're almost rubber stamping the leader's recommendation. So I guess we either have a few more folk involved under, say, the option 2B to give a bit more democracy around who is suggesting that recommendation coming to full council. That was just my concern, was around the democratic angle, Chair.
Okay, thank Peter. I think it was Danny, then Claire.
No, I was just going to point out that it's come up in the chat that Councillor Glynn and Councillor Little can only view the meeting. They're not able to interact.
Oh, okay. I hadn't spotted that.
Thank you.
Claire?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to sort of counter what Councillor Luton's saying, really, I think the democracy is there. I think, but there has to be a process where the leader does lead. I think opening all to all members as an option is one element of the democratic bit, and secondly, you go on to the appointment to the roles, then the leader, one of the options there is again that the leader, in consultation with a panel of other members, including the chair of this committee, for example. So this is only in the event of multiple applicants for the same post. So if you, in like any application, I suppose, there's a sifting process, but ultimately you wouldn't involve everybody at every stage. It's getting that right balance, I think, between opening it out to other people, but not burdening the process, so that it becomes a bit of a cumbersome exercise. Thank you, Chair.
So are you suggesting, Claire, then that it could be A and B?
No, Chair. I think it should be A for option 2, but then you'd be looking at for the appointments, which is the next stage again. There are 3 options there. One for the leader to appoint, which I agree with Councillor Lewington. We don't want it all, every stage, to be dictated by one person. There's an opportunity there for that wider group of people to be involved in the selection process, which is the recommendation that ultimately goes to full council. But I think in terms of establishing a member champion, I think that needs to come from the leader. Then that goes out to full council, to everybody, to open invitation for people to apply, and then it comes back to the leader if we get multiple applicants to sift through that, and then ultimately it'll go to a panel of people for recommendation who fills it. So I think there's a reasonable checks and balance there between, we don't want all the members involved at every stage, because that becomes quite cumbersome, I would suggest.
Yeah. I think that's a really valid point, Claire. Danny, do you want to come back?
Yeah. May I suggest that we just simplify this as option 2B, just the leader with the chair of council and relevant portfolio holder, and it stops at that? Would that just simplify it? Like, there's 3 people involved there to make a decision. Surely 3 people can make a decision on it. When the person that has read the role description has come forward and made up their own mind that they're suitable for the role.
I'm against multiple people at this point, Chair, just to be clear.
Well, we've got a bit of a disagreement on. Oh, Peter, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, just a quick one, if I may, Chair. I would support what Councillor Danny's just suggested there. I think I'm not suggesting we all get involved in the appointment or the selection phase, but I think we need more than one person doing that sifting of candidates, and therefore if it was the leader, the chair of council and the portfolio holder, that would give me some reassurance around the sifting of, say, 3 or 4 candidates, in terms of that being looked at and the candidate then being put to council for the full vote on it, as I think is suggested later on in option 3. So I would support what Councillor Danny just suggested.
Well, to move things on, I will support that as well. So I don't know whether we need to put that to do we need to put that to a vote, Clive, or
Yes, please, Chair, because Councillor Clare has already indicated she's against
Yeah.
that, so you need to have a vote.
yeah, okay.
So the recommendation, Chair, is that expressions of interest will be circulated to all members. If there are more than one expression of interest received, those will be considered by the leader together with the chair of council and the relevant portfolio holder. That's what the recommendation was. I thought I'd just summarise it, just make sure you know what the proposal, and you've just seconded, Chair. So that's what the proposal is.
Okay. So take a vote on the proposal, please. And I think we've also had a vote online from Councillor Brighouse supporting Danny's suggestion as well. So that one's carried. Can we move on, Catherine?
Yes. So then it's options on how this is reported to council. So as you can see here on screen, there are 3 options. So option 1, the leader would appoint a councillor as a member champion and report on this to council. Option 2, the leader would recommend the appointment of a councillor as a member champion to council. And option 3, the leader with the chair of council, portfolio holder and chair of Democratic Services Committee will recommend the appointment of a councillor as a member champion to council. And the leader has advised that he supports option 2A and the one above, and option 3 in respect of this part of the process.
Any thoughts, members? Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I guess isn't it option 3, because that just naturally follows from what we've just agreed? So,
I think so.
Yeah, so again, I would just propose option 3 with the tweak that we delete the chair of Democratic Services as we did previously.
Yeah. Claire, did you wish to come in?
Yeah, I think option 3. I think Peter, Councillor Lind has just answered my question. I think we omitted the chair of Democratic Services from the previous vote, so we would need to do the same here for consistency, I think. But yes, other than that, option 3. Thank you, Chair.
All in favour? Is that one gone?
Thank you. So moving on, then it's about reporting back on the work that the member champions do. So in Appendix 2, which is page 18 of the document, there is a draft template for that annual report that they could complete to show what they have done throughout the year.
Yeah, I think we would all agree that that needs to be in. You all okay with that? All nodding. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then also here, point 2.1.6, feedback from other services. So is this required? So there is a template for an annual report to be completed by others who have been working with the member champion from other organisations and places and such. That's on page 19.
Any views on that? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I guess a bit of mixed feelings, really, Chair, because part of me says not a bad idea, but then the other part of me says how do we make sure the other sources do actually fill in their report and fill it in a consistent manner, and would we perhaps be imposing extra effort on them when I guess if things weren't necessarily working to their satisfaction, they would hopefully have let us know before that report was required. So yeah, I think I'm erring on the side of no, but I've sort of got mixed feelings on it.
Claire?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Pete there. I think it's useful to have outside sort of views on this, but how would we secure that? And like I said, you would expect that if people weren't having a good experience, we would find out through other means anyway, and that could be fed into part of the annual review of the role as from a council point of view. I don't know how we would positively secure engagement from other parties in this regard. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that piece needs taking out. Danny, are you with us on that?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. All agree on that then, Catherine?
Thank
Remove
you.
that.
Yeah, thank you. And then finally, then we've got here around, so we've just outlined what member champions we've already got. Are any other roles required? There is that question. Yeah, I'll put it over to you.
Yeah, Claire?
Sorry, Chair, before we get on to that, I think Councillor Pete raised it earlier on in the discussion, and I'm not sure we've had an answer to that during the discussion, but we've now agreed on a process for appointing to member champions, but I don't see what happened if the council didn't go with the recommendation. So do we need to cover that before we do this bit? Just a question. Sorry, Chair.
Clyde, do you
Chair,
want to come in?
well, Chair, as with all things, if council don't agree with the recommendation, it will then automatically go back to the panel to look at again. Alternatively, Councillor Clare, the options considered by, and I think we probably would do it this way, the options considered, the expressions of interest considered by the three would be put before council anyway, to know council is fully informed of the decision they're going to make. And I suppose it might be open to council to make to come to a different conclusion to the three that made the recommendation. I suppose we probably do it that way, Councillor Clare.
Thank you, Clive. Yeah, I just think maybe as part of, for completeness from a reporting point of view, we probably need to put that in so that the full council are aware of what the process options are. Thank you.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Catherine? Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So to discuss that then, are there views from members that we have enough or we need more? Or are there any particular ones that we feel should be filled? Danny, I think, was first.
Possibly one extra for housing. Would that be a benefit? I don't know. Just a thought.
We do have councillors who sit on housing group panels, don't we, Clive?
It's called the Housing Forum, Chair, I believe, and I think we have members that are affiliated to that.
I think we sit one for the North, one for Radnor, and one for Brecon, I think. So possibly I would think that's covered, Danny, myself.
Right. Okay. But see, I didn't know that existed. But that could be a me problem. That could be my fault.
Okay.
Thank you.
Claire?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's important at this point to not to conflate issues with member champions. Member champions, to my understanding, are supposed to represent underrepresented groups across council business, which will impact on different topics like housing, but it's to represent the views of sort of minority and underrepresented parts of our society. So in that regard, I'm not sure it's for this committee in isolation to consider that, but may I suggest, Chair, that we ask that question across the whole council to start off that democratic process that we talked about, to sort of say, well, at the moment we've only got these three positions that seem to be a legacy of a previous administration. We'd like to start afresh. What groups do members of the council think need to be more represented across council businesses? Like I said, I think there are opportunities there for them to sort of combine some of those roles into a more sort of rather than lots of separate roles. You could have like I said, a protected for all protected classes under the Equalities Act. So we can group things once we know what people's interests are or we think are underrepresented. And I think it's important that we consider all aspects of society in that regard. So young, old, disabilities, gender, also all aspects really, rather than just sort of say, oh well, we've only got these three, what other three do we, what more do we need? I think we need to step back and look at who in society are marginalized, who in society are underrepresented, and whose voices do we need to amplify by assigning a member champions role to. And I'm not sure that just 3 or 4 of us are necessarily the best place to do that. Thank you, Chair.
It's a very good point, Claire. Is that possible, Clive, that decision can be?
Absolutely, Chair. If that's what the suggestion from this committee is, we can go and ask members, and I think we'd use the word in which Councillor Clare used. In fact, I think it is about having a champion who can support those who are underrepresented and marginalised. So I mean, I think that's what the purpose of it is. So we go out and ask members about that, and we can perhaps come back to the next meeting of DSC and report what's been suggested by members.
Yeah, thank you, Clive, for that. Councillor Brighouse has written in the chat, I feel anti-poverty is somewhat limited and would like to see a champion of adversity, which could include anti-poverty, homelessness, etc. Don't know if anybody's got any views on that. Peter? You're on mute, Peter.
Oh, sorry, apologies, Chair. Yeah, if I could just go back one step, I would endorse what both Councillor Clare and Clive said there. The only extra bit I might add is whether or not we could also perhaps do a comparison with what other councils have in terms of member champions to see what they are. And then I guess as well, picking up on Councillor Danny's point, is just then if we knew what those champion roles are and what we're suggesting, just perhaps how they tie in with the council's current structure. And I think the example there was on the housing. So that could be useful. Thank you, Chair.
I think Catherine may want to come in, but I think we have made some approaches, Catherine, haven't we?
Yes, Carol, I think you're probably better placed than me, but you have researched other councils around, and there isn't a sort of specific, everyone's different, but there are some that seem to occur more often than others.
Yes, that's correct. And also some of the other councils have no champions, and others have up to 22 champions, so it varies, but that information was provided with the last report, so that is available.
Claire?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Chair. That I think all that information was appended to the previous Democratic Services Committee report that we looked at in April, but we never got into the reads on that because the members took the view to ditch it at the first vote. Yeah, so I think that information is all there if people want to compare other authorities. I've certainly read them, but I'm also keen to, I don't want 22 member champions because I think that dilutes things. I think what Councillor Little has suggested is for us to be thinking more creatively as how we can group some of these to cover wider issues in a single champion role, and I think that's the benefit of opening it up to all members to sort of have that input, so we're not necessarily just plucking names out of the air. We're sort of asking members what do they feel passionate about, who do they think are underrepresented, who does a 21st century forward-looking council, who should we be championing the causes of, and then for this committee then to contemplate the responses to that and come up with a list, and like I said, that may group sort of topics, so we have a reduced number of member champions that cover a broader range of issues than perhaps has been done in the past. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, good point, Claire. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, we're happy to move on, I think, then.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've got that noted. So it was just really to highlight again that the details would be on the council website, and then those annual reports as well would also be added onto the website after they'd been presented to full council.
Okay, Clive?
Chair, I think DSC needs to consider an issue raised by Councillor Pete right on at the start was, what's the term of the champion? Is it for an annual one, or is it for the term of council? So I think you need to make a decision on that, and I make a recommendation on that, Chair.
Yeah, that's Peter. Do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I guess. I suppose what was a lot behind my question is obviously being a new councillor, I hadn't really seen much about what the champions do, but as we've now seen here, we will get an annual report coming into council, so we can see the activities and what they're up to, and hopefully we will also have a bit more interaction with individual councillors in the champions role. So, and again, I don't have an easy answer to this one, because as councillors we are appointed for a 5-year term, obviously, but then chairs of all of our committees are sort of up for annual reappointments. So I don't know, I guess whether it could form part of the annual report process that comes into full council, but I do also understand Councillor Clare's earlier point, which is you get someone in the role and perhaps you don't want to be having 5 champions over a 5-year term of a council. You need to build up that experience. So I may not have helped at all much there, Chair, because as per usual, I'm a bit confused, but yeah.
Claire.
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor P has helped, really. I think whether he realises or not, he might have answered his own question there. I think as long as we get the identifying the roles and the selection process spot on, I don't see why we shouldn't give that role for the term of the office, because I think that allows them the time to build up those relationships, to establish, you can't be having contact with underrepresented and sometimes vulnerable groups changing every year. I just don't think that's very fair to those groups, if nothing else. Never mind the added bureaucracy it would create our end. I think we sort of have, I think now we've looked at the process of identifying the roles and setting out a clear set of things that they have to fulfill. It's quite an onerous task, really. So you would expect that members would really want to do this. They're coming in with their eyes open, and I think on that basis, I think it's only fair that you give them a full term to sort of prove their worth and establish those contacts with those groups. And like I said, if the feedback annual review allows the rest of the council to monitor that activity. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. So if the recommendation was that it was for the full term, am I right in saying that it wouldn't start until the next elected representatives?
No, Councillor Downey, I suggest that we take Councillor Graham's suggestion. We start with a clean sheet. Once appointed, they remain in place for the rest of this term. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, but my worry is, are we going to be there's going to be possibly new councillors after the next election? Will we be back to square one again with different ideas?
Well, Councillor Danny, there'll be a new if Councillor Clare's suggestion is approved by this committee, that is for the term, then the next council will decide, and if that council wants to change this process, they can, but it will remain in place unless it's changed.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And
we've got nearly 3 years left of the term anyway, so it's quite a Peter.
Yeah, just one final point. Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I think I'll be supporting Councillor Clare there in terms of the appointment is for the term of the council. I guess so that just leaves me one sort of final question or thought for committee, which is if the member champion is not fulfilling the role when we look at an annual report, is how can we then remove, maybe a strong word, but how can we then remove and re-elect another champion?
Clive?
I get all the difficult questions today, Chair.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Pete.
You get paid well.
Happy Monday. Yeah.
Chair, I suspect that what we need to do is to write into the constitution that the actual appointment will be made by the council, and the person can be the councillor can be removed by a voting council as well. So if it's appointed one way, and you can be terminated by council as well. I think that's the only fair way of doing it.
Yep. Okay, so Danny.
Yeah, so thank you. So much the same as a vote of no confidence then is really what
Absolutely.
Clive's saying. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. So we all agreed on that it's for the term. Yep. Okay, great. Thanks, Catherine. Any more, Catherine, or?
No, I think we've covered that topic well.
Very well, I think. So we're happy. You're happy to take that back now and to reword.
Yes.
And will that come back to us before going to full council now?
Chair, well, I suspect what we need to do is firstly go out and ask members what roles they think should be in place, and we'll bring that back to DSC.
Okay. Yeah,
yes, which is on the 24th of November, I think the next one.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks very much. So we'll move on to, I can find my agenda in this pile of paper that I've got. Where are we?
Chair, it's the review of remuneration of the Chair of Employment.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Clyde.
And hopefully you can see my screen, if that helps.
Well, you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead then, Catherine.
Okay. So you can see here a report. It's quite a short report. So the committee at its meeting on the 8th of January asked that a review be undertaken regarding the payment of a senior salary to the chair of the employment committee. I won't read it all verbatim, but hopefully you've all read this previously. So moving on to point 2.1, a review of senior salaries was undertaken by the committee on the 17th of February in 2023, and they advised that the terms of reference of the committee be amended, with the committee having no further involvement in officer appeals. And at that time, the chair's post was paid a remuneration, and the committee was also asked to review whether this should continue based on the revised workload of the committee. The committee noted that the group leaders' comments were that payment should continue, and the committee made this recommendation to council. So there, point 2.2, as the chair of the employment committee no longer chaired appeals panels, council resolved that the position should not attract a senior salary. Moving on just down to 2.3, we've got here to assist the committee in considering whether the chair of employment committee should receive a senior salary. The meetings held between the 26th of May 2022 and the 31st of August 2024 of the employment committee and other committees such as scrutiny are provided in Appendix 1, and Appendix 1 is on pages 23, 24 and 25 of this report. And so as you can see here, point 2.4, from the above, the ordinary workload of the employment committee is much smaller than the other scrutiny committees and finance panel, where the chairs currently receive a senior salary. However, it is acknowledged that during the recruitment process for corporate leadership team earlier this year, the committee did meet on 17 occasions where the chair did undertake their role, and it should be acknowledged that those meetings did take place over a very short time period. And just another bit to note, really, point 2.5, it should be noted that a senior salary is currently unallocated, and point 2.6 just highlights really that the independent remuneration panel for Wales has been asked whether ad hoc payments can be made to chairs for work where they do not receive senior salaries, and it says here a response is awaited. We have had a response back, and they are going to be holding a meeting tomorrow, and they are going to discuss that topic there. So we'll let us know on Wednesday of this week what the outcome of that discussion is. So the recommendation to Democratic Services Committee is just to consider the report and make a recommendation to councils. So obviously the appendices is where all of the detail is here on the next few pages.
Thanks, Catherine. Anybody want to come in on this first? Peter?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just a quick question, Catherine, which again, I may have answered my own question. It talks about senior salaries there. Is there sort of any discretion within that to pay like a junior salary?
I'm looking at Clive because I don't know that answer myself, Councillor Peat, but I think, oh, you're on mute, Clive.
Apologies. Sorry, Councillor Peat. There is no no provision to have a junior salary, I'm afraid.
No, okay,
but it is interesting that the independent panel are considering the issue of ad hoc payments, which is almost similar to what you're suggesting, Councillor Peat.
Yeah.
And we will know after their meeting tomorrow. So I think we probably should wait and to hear what they're going to say. Chair, but it's a matter for committee.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Chair, if I may. Yeah, I was just going to follow that up with exactly what Clive suggested there. It seems I think we need the information from that meeting on Wednesday before we can consider it any further for me.
Chair, the alternative would be if council were minded to think that there should be some sort of one-off payment for the work which was done during the corporate leadership appointee process, you could decide that subject to receiving confirmation that that is acceptable to the independent panel, of course. But alternatively, you could say if the independent panel were to say that that's not possible, what would DSC's view on that be? You could sort of make a decision, plan A and plan B.
Yeah, we will be delaying until November otherwise, won't we, I suppose?
Yep.
You know what? Have people studied the figures, the number of meetings? I'm sure you have. Can we have some thoughts? What are our thoughts on this before we go any further? Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I get the point about November as well. I guess again, this is another one where I can sort of see both sides of the coin actually, because part of me thinks, well, perhaps you should get paid and have parity with chairs of other committees, but then it may be that this workload fluctuates much more than it does on other committees, and we've just seen a bit of a blip, which is bringing me back round to the the one-off payment suggestion that's going to be we're going to have a view on Wednesday. But then again, there's another side of the coin, and no particular axe to grind on this at all, but as councillors we all get an allowance, an annual allowance, regardless of the amount of work that we actually do. So I think there should be something paid to the chair based on those background information, but I guess it does need to try and reflect the workload. Thanks, Chair.
Claire. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'm against paying more committees, more chairs for more anything. I think we have to look at normal council business and what is a consistent time commitment, such as the regulatory committees which have to be done. A wholesale change of the leadership team is like a sort of one-off special thing. You would hope you wouldn't want to be wholesale changing your top tier, more frequently than that. So I'm more inclined to say, well, if an ad hoc payment for unexpected amount of time was given to that is endorsed by after the meeting of the independent remuneration tomorrow, then that's one thing. But I don't think it should be a salaried role, personally. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And Councillor Brighouse is saying in the chat that she agrees with Clive. We will have a further information following the meeting tomorrow. We will be more informed at that point and able to make a more appropriate recommendation. I'm tending to agree, actually. I think I think I've changed my view on how we deal with this morning. I'd be inclined to think that we do need to defer, and I'd like to propose that we defer this until after we've had the response, and then it comes back to our meeting in November.
Chair, if the date of the November meeting is difficult for members, it will of course be open to this committee to suggest that we have an earlier meeting, just a one-off item. That's possible.
We could, yeah. Okay. Is everybody in favour of that? Yeah, okay. That's carried then.
Chair, can I just ask, are you going to have a one-off meeting or you wait till November?
Members, can I ask you for your views? Claire?
I'm happy to wait for November.
Peter?
I think personally it would be good if we could do a one-off. I don't think it will take too long, and it would show we were cracking on with things.
Danny?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with Councillor Peake, to be fair. It may, even if it doesn't achieve too much, well, it should achieve a lot, because we should have the information. At this moment in time, we don't have any, and November may be a bit too long.
Okay, Claire, would you come back in?
I'm just conscious again, Chair, that we're talking about taxpayers' money here. So if the Chair Environment Committee is, depending on the results for the independent remuneration panel, suggest, organising an early meeting just for that one item is costing the taxpayers money in our time and expenses, and you're not getting paid for this role, Chair. So I do question why I can't wait until November. Thank you.
Well, I'm inclined to say we wait till November, which means we've got to. Is Councillor Brighouse allowed to vote, Clive, even though she's not?
Chair, in essence, you've got a 2 against 2, and you as the chair has the casting vote.
So Councillor Brighouse is online.
I can't see what Councillor Brighouse has said, to be honest, Chair.
She's typing at the moment.
Chair,
So
can I just butt in there? Sorry. Can we be informed of what the decision is and then make our decision whether it's November or not? This might undo its own problem, depending on what the decision is.
We could certainly do that, Councillor Danny, but I don't see the delay in the decision or an early meeting on November. We should be able to make that today, shouldn't we?
Well, Councillor Brighouse is voting in favour of us having a one-off meeting to discuss this. So if you're able to accept that, Clive, in the chat box.
Chair, with reluctance, yes.
Okay, well, so that's carried 3-2 in favour of having the one-off meeting to discuss then. Thank you. That takes us on to the next item on the agenda, 7, member activities.
Thank you. Yes, so moving on, so next report. So at the full council meeting on the 16th of May this year, the issue was raised of the work of councillors and how this is recorded. as the statutory reporting on attendance figures did not adequately reflect their workload. So you can see here in point 2.1, we use a system called Modern Gov to capture attendance at meetings and to produce all of the agendas, minutes, etc. And so all of the figures for councillors' attendance, which appear on the web page, are held on that that piece of software. So you can see that individual councillors' attendance at committees can also be viewed on their individual page on the website as well, if anyone's interested. So point 2.2, councillors can also participate in a range of other internal working groups or boards. So some of these are set up on the Modern Gov system. And obviously that attendance is captured. But if the settings for internal working groups and boards are adjusted so that the reports remain internal and the attendance details are set out as public, the date and name of those meetings would be visible on the website and therefore on councillors' web pages. So point 2.3, the Standards Committee does have a role in monitoring the attendance of councillors at committee meetings that are held in public. And back on the 28th of February 2005, it was agreed that attendance levels should be set at 60% for public committee meetings, and that attendance levels are reviewed on an annual basis, and to look at any councillors with attendance levels below 60%. And the Standards Committee does not consider attendance at working groups, etc., which are internal meetings. So point 2.4, some further work is being undertaken by officers currently to look at whether reports could be extracted from the Modern Gov system so that we could report on members' attendance at public committee meetings separately from those working groups, and collate the details of these using the Modern Gov system. So if the separate reports for attendance and the working groups cannot be extracted, the Standards Committee could be asked to consider whether to include working groups in its monitoring of the attendance of members. Or alternatively, the Modern Gov provider could also be asked whether or not they could develop a reporting system to capture that attendance there. So it's just to point out really that Section 5, Part 1 of the Local Government's Wales measure, does require councils to make arrangements for elected members to produce an annual report about their activities. And there is no requirement for elected members to complete an annual report, but it is a way to provide constituents with details of the activities that you have undertaken during the year. So members could either write a short annual report giving some details of their attendance at meetings, or provide a more fuller report which provides information about what work they've been doing out in their constituency, which wouldn't otherwise be shown. And those reports can be published on the members' pages on the website. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So this is basically just for information.
Mm-hmm.
And it's whether any councillors wish to discuss this now. Danny?
I already do a focus leaflet that goes out quarterly, delivered to all my residents. So yeah, they're updated as they are already.
Okay, Peter.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, again, another one interesting for me, sort of musing on, I think. I think there's maybe something perhaps where we need to wait for the details from Modern Gov as sort of set out in 2.4 of the report to see what else comes out of that information. I think if memory serves me, when this was brought up in council, I think the councillor who sort of raised it was trying to get comparisons of the work that councillors do to show the public how much we actually do. And I think, again, if memory serves me, that was beyond just committees. That was, I think, attending seminars, the non-public committees, perhaps school governors, I think was given as an example. But I think it's back to that bit, is I don't know how we then collate that information beyond an individual's annual member report, or as Danny says, where Danny's telling his own constituents through his own literature what he's actually saying. But I guess then the point is if we just leave it to members' annual reports, I don't think all councillors actually complete them. So I think there's one bit, if you're a councillor, do you want to tell your constituents in the wider Powys County what you're actually up to? And there are mechanisms there for doing so. But there was then, how do we address what that councillor raised, which is how do we compare what everybody's up to, if that makes sense. And I haven't got an easy answer for that one, or else we just go on an extensive, I think, data mining exercise for me that creates another layer of bureaucracy that we don't necessarily want, you know.
Okay. Danny, then Claire.
Thank you. The other thing here is that, like, what's a problem, or you know, what I have to deal with in my ward isn't necessarily what has to be dealt with in your ward. It's, yeah, everywhere varies. Big differences. You know, like as long as the bins are collected and the potholes are filled, everyone's happy in Churchstoke, to be fair. Well, the majority. And I'm sure, you know, you councillors in towns have a lot other problems, you know, bigger problems, different problems. So it's not really a true reflection, because we all know, like, we can have the simplest problems that take forever to solve, and then there's other big problems that are relatively easily to solve once you look at them in an easy way. So I don't think whatever is put out there is going to really be a true reflection of anything, really, apart from the public's own perception of what you have done for them.
Very good point, Danny. Claire?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think, you know, I'm not quite sure what we're looking for here. I mean, there are already mechanisms where members can champion their own sort of work ethic, and to make use of that if they want the public to sort of see it. I'm not quite sure the premise to the member querying how you sort of compare against members. We all know that some members work harder than others for various different reasons, and ultimately that's decided by the voter in the ballot box. So I'm not sure we should be complicating council business by trying to sort of justify what council money is. You know, is your councillor working hard enough to justify their salary? Because ultimately, that's what the constituents will decide come election day. So I'm personally quite comfortable with the existing arrangements. I think we should maybe pushing more, getting members to take, having their own take those annual reports a bit more seriously, but also educating the public to sort of to start scrutinising that, because ultimately you have a lot of people who are saying, oh, council money, councillors are a waste of money, they don't, it cost me. They don't actually look at what is being done, and it's like an education needed, I think, for members to take more seriously the annual reports and to use that mechanism, but also for the public to be educated on that information and how it can be helpful for them into working out whether they are getting value for money from their councillor or not, which will inform their decision come voting day. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I think there are two issues here, aren't there? You know, there's the issue that was raised by the councillor at a full council meeting, which I think he could, that, you know, what he raised there can be answered. It's within his gift to provide that information himself within his annual report and to his constituents if he wishes. The other issue, I think, is the way that we do record being at meetings, and I personally don't think that is a fair reflection on the amount of meetings that people actually attend, and the percentage way that it's worked out does not reflect really the way things are, because if you're not on any committees and you attend 5 full council meetings, you're recorded there as 100%, whereas somebody who attended 40 committee meetings and missed 10 of those, their percentage drops considerably. So I think there are two things there. I think we need to wait until we've completed a report from Modern Gov that the team are kindly looking into. And then we can possibly discuss this again, but at the moment I think we just need to note this information. I see that Danny wants to come back first, and then Peter again.
Thank you. Yeah, just going back to your point of the percentages of people turning up, basically. It's like people turning up for work, isn't it? You know, like I'm an employer. Yeah, you can have as many there as you like, but it doesn't mean that they're all any good.
No.
But you know, everyone's got their different expertise and what have you, you know. But yeah, going also just backtracking a little bit. Obviously, being a new councillor, I think about 12 or 18 months in, I put a post on my councillor Facebook page and said, basically, how am I doing? You know, is everyone happy? And I was expecting some serious backlash, you know, complaints and what have you. But no, it was all good. But I thought I'd give them the opportunity just to say their point, you know, because everybody wants their say. So I thought I'd give them the opportunity, which yeah, everybody was happy, you know. So that's yeah, there you go. If that makes any help, probably not.
Claire, did you wish? Or was it Peter? Peter wished to come back in.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I think the bit underline all this. I don't think I would disagree with Councillor Clare, where at the end of the day it's the ballot box that determines how well you've performed and what your constituents think of you. I pick it up on your point on percentages and Danny's. I think you could then go on and drill that to another level, which actually says, well, even if you had 100% attendance across 5 committees, what did you actually do and say in those committees? So I think underpinning all of this, the question is how do you judge that performance? And I think the answer to that at the end of the day is every 5 years when we have an election.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I propose that we just we note this report, Catherine, and thank you very much for the hard work that's gone into it and all the reports that you've actually done today, because I'm sure they've been extremely time consuming, and we're very grateful for the information you brought to us today on that. Clive?
Chair, members, will you please accept my apologies? I'm already late for a CLT meeting which started at 11 o'clock. So at this stage, will you please accept my apologies, and thank you very much for your attendance this morning. And
thank you, Clive.
Thank you, members.
Thank you. Okay, we've got just 2 items left on the agenda. And number 8 is new member information and handbook. So it's just a verbal update again. Is it you, Catherine?
Yes, back to me. Yeah, so no, can I just note thanks to Carol for pulling a lot of that information together for you today. She did a great job. Yeah, with the member information and handbook, so some of you have already seen some of this. So it's just to highlight that we've got a draft member handbook, and that's been shared with some of you. You had a bit of a working group type approach to it, didn't you, where you went through, made some suggestions, etc. So we're actually going to be bringing that draft handbook along on Thursday to the in-person county councillor development session that we've got planned. So it's going to be one of the focus groups where you'll move around different rooms, and so we'll get further feedback on it. But we're hoping that pretty much after that, you know, we can be ready to share it. So we envisage that it would be something that all county councillors could have on their desktop, on their laptop, and like a link to it to a folder. So basically it's not finished by, you know, there's a lot more to do, but at this point in time we can share, and then we'll, as things go and evolve. But the actual handbook itself, we've tried to make it as user friendly as possible, the way it's laid out, and I know that some of you made some recommendations about the ordering of things, and also to try and make it as hyperlinked as possible. So rather than having a lot of text in there, hyperlink into places, because quite often other websites, the Welsh Local Government Association and the English version, you know, there's a lot of good information out there on being a county councillor and the types of things, certain roles, isn't there, in terms of what is a portfolio holder. And so there's lots of really good information to hand. So we didn't want to repeat, but rather signpost wherever we could. So yeah, so it was just to say it's well developed, and it will be a test on Thursday to see what comes back, because we think, you know, there's more we can do, because being a county councillor is quite a diverse role, I would say, and there's certain things that you would need to do when you first become one, and then as you develop in that role, and obviously there's a lot to know internally about the workings of quite complex organisation and the external bit as well. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an update, but if anybody has any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Catherine, and we look forward to receiving that on Thursday. The last item on the agenda is the work programme. I don't know whether there's anything. I think we have discussed that already, haven't we? A small way. Is anything in there, Catherine, that you wish to point out to us?
I haven't got anything to note, but if Steve or Carol do, feel free to say.
Claire?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just looking through that, just a sort of a memoir really, that following today's meeting we probably need to add to the 24th of November the member champions role again. Hopefully we'll have had some feedback for all councillors as to what roles they want us to consider, so just make sure we pop that back on so we don't overlook it. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other one, Clive's gone now, hasn't he? But did want to ask him about the whistleblowing policy, which is scheduled for the 24th. Perhaps if we can get the message to him that we really do want this before this committee on that date. It was first requested on the 8th of the 1st, 2024. So, you know, it's been a long while in the coming. We've had some serious coverage in the press in the last week about this, about the audit of this whistleblowing policy. So we do need to discuss it as soon as possible. Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, just I guess a point of information, just in case other members of this committee don't know, but there is a subcommittee of the Governance and Audit Committee that is undertaking a review of the whole governance framework around whistleblowing, and one element of that will be to, if you like, look at some fictitious cases to see how they compare against policy. So there may be some updates coming out of that working group into full governance and audit that we may wish to just make sure we pick up on as well in November when we look at policy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. And with that, I think I'm going to bring an end to the meeting. I thank everybody for attending, and again to thank the team for all the effort that's gone into the reports that have come before us today. I don't think we can mention highly of you enough, really, how much work's gone into that, and it's very much appreciated. So thanks all, and we'll see each other again in November.
No, we'll see you on Thursday.
Well, and Thursday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.